We'd been living next to them for years, always waved, shared tools, gave holiday cookies. But after my husband passed, everything changed. One day, I heard loud noises outside. I opened the curtains, and saw them digging up my side yard. When I ran out, they said, "We're expanding our driveway. You don't use this space anymore." I called the police. They had fake permits and claimed the land was unclaimed. When the surveyor came out and proved them wrong, they screamed, "Fine. You can die in that sad little house then." And then, a week later, my gas line was cut. We lived next to the Walters for a little over 10 years. Ron and Deb Walters. Small town in Ohio, maybe 30 minutes outside Cincinnati. When they first moved in, it felt like we'd won the neighbor lottery. They were polite, waved every morning, shared cookies during Christmas, even let us borrow their hedge trimmer more than once. My husband Terry got along well with Ron. They'd talk about lawn care, cars, whatever retired men talk about when they don't want to talk about real things. We weren't best friends, but we were solid neighbors. Respectful. Friendly. We helped each other when it made sense. That's how it's supposed to be. Then Terry died. It happened last December. One minute we were sitting on the couch watching the Bengals game, and the next, he was slumped over, not breathing. Heart attack. Just like that. He was gone before the ambulance even made it up the driveway. The silence that followed was like nothing I've ever known. That house we shared for 37 years suddenly felt like a cold, hollow box. After the funeral, the neighbors sent over a card. No knock on the door, no conversation. Just a sympathy card left in the mailbox. I didn't think much of it. People get weird around death. They don't know what to say, so they stay away. I didn't have the energy to chase anyone down. I just tried to survive each day. But a few weeks later, things started getting strange. First, the hedge. We had a hedge running the line between our properties, maybe 3 feet from their driveway. Terry kept it trimmed, neat, every year. One morning, I heard a buzzing sound and looked outside. Ron was cutting it down, completely. No knock, no heads up. Just gone. I went outside in my robe and said, "What are you doing?" He didn't even look up. Just said, "It was attracting rodents. Looks better this way." I was too stunned to argue. The next few days, I told myself it wasn't worth a fight. But I kept hearing him out there, measuring things, pacing, mumbling. Then came the big one. It was a Tuesday morning. Quiet, clear sky. I'd just finished my tea when I heard this loud rumbling. Machinery. It sounded like they were doing construction. I opened my curtains and nearly dropped my mug. They were in my side yard. Not just edging up against it, in it. A whole crew with tools, digging up the grass, tearing through the flower bed Terry had planted years ago. Concrete bags. Rebar. Stakes in the ground. I ran outside, still in my slippers, yelling, "What the hell are you doing?" Ron turned to me calm as can be and said, "We're expanding our driveway." "In my yard?" I screamed. Deb walked up behind him with a clipboard and this smug little smile on her face. "You don't use this space anymore. It's unclaimed." I couldn't even respond. I was shaking so bad, I had to steady myself on the porch railing. I told them they were trespassing, that they had no right. Ron just shrugged and said, "We checked the city records. This side's open. You can call whoever you want." So I did. I called the cops. They showed up about 30 minutes later. I thought, surely, they'd see this and shut it down. But the Walters handed over papers, printed permits with stamps on them, survey maps, signatures. They looked real. The officer said, "This might be a civil issue. You'll probably have to sort this through the city." I felt like I was losing my mind. That was my yard. We'd mowed it for decades. Our kids played on it. I still had old garden gnomes buried under there from 1998. I wasn't letting this go. I paid $950 out of my own pocket for a certified surveyor to come out and inspect the landline. He showed up Thursday. Took his time. Used scanners, checked city archives, pulled up aerial photos, everything. When he was done, he came to my door and said, "They're way over the line. You own all the way to the edge of that first drain pipe." No question. I was furious. I walked right over to their house and knocked. Deb opened the door, and I said, "You need to stop. I had the land surveyed. It's mine. Every inch you dug up is on my property." She stared at me like I'd kicked her dog. Then she screamed. "Fine. Die in that sad little house then. We thought you'd be gone by now anyway." And then she slammed the door. I stood there frozen. I didn't know what to say. Gone. She meant dead. Not moved. Not in a nursing home. Dead. That was a week ago. Last night, I smelled gas. Strong. Like something leaking. I don't use gas appliances. Terry had the whole line shut off 10 years ago. We were electric. I called the gas company anyway. The tech came out and looked around. 10 minutes later, he came back to the door and looked sick. "Ma'am," he said, "someone cut your external gas line. This wasn't natural. This was deliberate. If there had been a spark, your house could have gone up." I just stared at him. I couldn't speak. I knew then this wasn't about property anymore. They weren't trying to just steal a few feet of grass. They wanted me gone. One way or another. I didn't call the police yet. I needed to think. But I'm not stupid. And I'm not alone. Terry may be gone, but I have family. I have friends. I have fire in me still. They picked the wrong widow to mess with. After the gas line was cut, I didn't sleep for 2 nights. Every sound outside made me flinch. I kept the lights on. I put a chair under the doorknob even though I knew it wouldn't stop anyone. I wasn't scared of ghosts or monsters, I was scared of the people I used to wave to every morning. I didn't call the police right away. I needed more than fear. I needed proof. So I made some calls. My nephew Clay, 32 years old and tech-savvy, came over that weekend. I told him everything. The land, the gas, the screaming. He didn't try to tell me I was overreacting. He believed me right away. Clay brought 2 motion-activated cameras and helped me mount them, one by the side yard, one aimed at my front porch. I also started a journal, writing down everything that happened, no matter how small. Time, date, weather, what I saw, who was out there. Then, I waited. The Walters didn't say much for a few days. Their crew didn't come back, but I caught Ron outside with a tape measure again. Pacing. Muttering to himself. Then, one night, I heard something. It was close to midnight. A sharp tapping sound. I got up and peeked through the curtains. Deb was in my yard. Flashlight in one hand, something long in the other. A pipe or rod maybe. She was poking around near the gas line area again. I didn't go outside. I just pressed record on the app Clay installed for the cameras and let it capture everything. The next morning, I called the police. I showed them the footage. They didn't shrug me off this time. The officer's face changed when he saw her trespassing with what looked like tools. "We'll send someone by to talk to them," he said. That afternoon, I saw a cruiser in front of their house. The conversation was short. Ron yelled. Deb waved her arms. But the officer left without arresting anyone. And then things got worse. The next morning, I woke up to find paint on my garage door. Red spray paint. Big letters, old HAG. Move or burn. It took everything in me not to cry. But I didn't. I called Clay. He came back that same day with 2 more cameras and installed one at the garage and another over the backyard. I called the police again. The officer looked tired. There's no camera on that side, ma'am. Without video, we can't prove it was them. I looked him dead in the eye and said, I'm not letting this go. They want me gone. And I'm not going anywhere. That night, Clay stayed over. Just in case. At 2:47 a.m., the back camera caught Ron in a hoodie, creeping along the property line. He had a lighter in one hand and what looked like a gas can in the other. We didn't call the police this time. We called a lawyer. Her name was Patrice Mueller. Older woman, tough, no nonsense. She came to the house, looked over everything. Surveys, videos, the permit copies they gave the cops. After an hour, she leaned back and said, these people are escalating. But they've made mistakes. You have enough for a civil suit. Possibly criminal. We'll start with restraining orders. Then we'll bury them. I asked, do I have a case? She looked at me like I'd asked if the sky was blue. Ma'am, you don't just have a case. You have a war chest. While she filed the paperwork, Clay went digging through the county records again. Turns out the permits Ron showed the police? Fake. Sloppy fakes. The stamps were from a different county office. One that doesn't even handle zoning. Clay compared them to real documents he pulled online. Patrice handed that straight to the DA's office. And then things finally started to move. A week later, deputies showed up at the Walters house with a search warrant. They found bolt cutters, forged documents, and a whole damn file with my name on it. Photos of my house, maps, notes like when she leaves and check gas again. They had a damn plan. Ron got arrested for trespassing, attempted arson, and possession of forged government documents. Deb? She got hit with trespassing and criminal harassment. But it wasn't over. Because even with them out of the house, even with the charges filed, I knew they weren't done. That couple had something broken in them. And I had just started fighting back. Ron and Deb were finally charged, and for a moment, I could breathe again. But the damage they caused wasn't just legal or physical, it was inside me. Every corner of my house felt like it had been watched. Every creak in the floor sounded like danger. I wasn't sleeping through the night. I kept the curtains drawn, the doors locked, and a bat by my bed. Then, Patrice called. They made bail, she said. Both of them. I sat there in silence. Don't panic, she added. They're not supposed to come within 500 feet of you, and if they do, they go right back to jail. But I thought you should know. That same day, I noticed a new car parked down the street. A dark blue sedan with tinted windows. Never moved, never left. I didn't recognize it. At first, I thought maybe it was just someone visiting another neighbor. But it stayed there, for 3 days. When I walked by with Clay, we got close enough to see there was no inspection sticker, no license plate in the front. We called the sheriff's department, and they came out to check. Car was clean, no stolen report, no tickets. But the timing? Too perfect. Then Clay got a message. His LinkedIn inbox had a weird note from an account with no photo, that house won't be yours much longer. Hope you like ashes. It didn't use names. But it didn't need to. The sheriff put extra patrol on our street. I filed more reports. Still, it felt like we were being watched from somewhere nearby. That car vanished the same night we filed the second report. 2 days later, I got a letter in the mail. No return address. Inside, a burnt piece of siding. Mine. I felt it in my gut, they'd saved a piece from my own house, burned it, and mailed it to me. I started carrying pepper spray inside the house. But Patrice wasn't just sitting back. She dug deeper. Found out that the Walters weren't just expanding their driveway, they'd been slowly trying to claim multiple feet from 3 properties near them. I wasn't the only one. Turns out, they'd done this once before in a different county. Bought a property, faked paperwork, built structures that crossed boundaries, and scared off an old man who couldn't afford to fight. The records were buried because the case never went to court. The man moved into assisted living before it could be settled. Patrice put that in the civil lawsuit. Claimed it showed a pattern of behavior, fraud, intimidation, harassment. At that point, things moved fast. My neighbor 2 doors down, Kevin, who I barely spoke to since he moved in, came by one morning with coffee in his hands. He told me Ron had once offered to buy part of his yard too. Said something weird, like, "Nobody lives forever, man. Might as well cash out." Kevin declined, but he never thought twice about it, until he saw what happened to me. Then Kevin dropped the bomb. Ron came by after Terry passed. Asked me if I thought you were going to sell. I said I didn't know. He said, "People like her? They don't last long alone." I felt sick. This wasn't spontaneous. They'd been circling us like vultures for months, maybe longer. Maybe since before Terry even died. And now, with charges stacking, a civil case gaining steam, and people finally paying attention, they were getting desperate. That night, around 2 a.m., I woke up to the sound of tires screeching. A loud slam. Then sirens. I ran outside in my robe. A car had crashed into the back of my garage. It was a blue sedan. The same one from before. The driver was gone. Ran off. But the deputies caught him 5 blocks away. It wasn't Ron. It was his nephew. 19 years old, out on probation for assault. When they searched the car, they found gas canisters in the trunk. And printed screenshots of my house from Google Maps, marked with red X's. It wasn't just a random crash. They were going to try again. This time, the DA didn't play nice. Ron and Deb got their bail revoked. Both were taken into custody that night. Their house was declared a crime scene. The city condemned parts of their illegal construction. But I wasn't done. Not yet. I wanted every inch back. Every dollar. Every minute of peace they stole from me. And I was going to take it, publicly. The Walters were back in custody, and their house sat dark, quiet, and taped off. But I didn't feel peace. Not yet. Patrice kept pushing. "We go all the way," she said. "You deserve that much." So we did. The civil suit turned into something bigger: property damage, emotional distress, fraud, trespassing, harassment, and attempted arson. With Clay's help and the neighbor Kevin backing my case, we added witness statements, videos, and documents to everything Patrice filed. But I wanted more than just money. I wanted their lies public. So I went to the local news. I told my story. A quiet widow, grieving her husband, attacked by neighbors trying to steal her land, and possibly her life. They aired it on the evening broadcast. Patrice stood next to me. Clay too. I didn't cry. I didn't flinch. I told the whole town what they did. People paid attention. The county office opened an investigation into how Ron had submitted fake permits and how they weren't caught. It turned out he had a buddy in the zoning office who overlooked things for him in the past. That man lost his job. Might face charges too. And then came court. Ron and Deb stood in front of a judge while everything came out. The videos. The forged permits. The cut gas line. The nephew in the blue car. The burnt piece of my house mailed to me. Deb started crying halfway through the trial. Said she was stressed. Said they just wanted to improve their home. Said I overreacted. The judge didn't buy it. Ron got 2 years in prison. Deb got 18 months. Their nephew got a longer sentence, already on probation. And on top of that, they owed me. The judge awarded me full damages, over $138,000. Enough to rebuild my yard, fix the garage, replace the siding, and put in a new security system. But the best part? Their house. They couldn't afford to pay the damages. So it went up for sale. Fast. Under court order. And I bought it. Cash. Not because I needed it. But because I wanted to be the one who tore down their illegal extension. I wanted to be the one who ripped up that ugly slab of concrete they poured on my land. Clay and I went out there the day the sale closed. We took sledgehammers to their precious driveway. Tore it up, inch by inch. Kevin from next door brought over beers and watched. Said it was the best thing he'd seen all year. And then I put the lot up for auction. Every penny I made from selling it went into a community garden. Right where their driveway used to be. Now, every spring, I walk past rows of flowers, vegetables, and fresh herbs where they once tried to bury me. I lost my husband. I lost time. I lost sleep. But I didn't lose the fight. They wanted me gone. Now they are. And I'm still here.